Okay, so now I will turn over the OPT application review workshop to our International Student Advisor, Tricia.
Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody is staying safe and healthy. Welcome to our application review. Hopefully you have all your documents in front of you and you're going to be going through them. Please be aware that the I-765 is a F1 student's individual application and responsibility. The obligation to submit a complete and timely application, as well as the adjudication of the application, is between the student and USCIS. Any resources or guidance provided by Visa and Immigration Services as a service to international students of Stony Brook University should not be considered legal advice. So basically, this is in a summary, we're helping you to just review your application. It is your responsibility to ensure that all the information you put in there is correct and accurate before mailing it to USCIS. Here we go. So the topics that we're going to go over today are preparing your I-765 application, filing your I-765, what's next, understanding your reporting responsibilities, traveling while on OPT, and some key points and reminders. You should have with you today 2 passport style photos, no more than 30 days old, your 410 application fee, which should be in the form of either a money order, a bank check, a cashier's check, or if you're going to use their credit card form, which is called the G1450. It's a credit card authorization transaction form. Your G1145, the cover letter, the I-765, the I-20, recommending the benefit, every I-20 ever issued to you. Now this says 2 Form I-20s, but you only need to make a copy of the I-20 that you have, that was given to you if it was sent to you electronically. Make sure that you have a copy of your passport, which is just the ID page, visa, the admission stamp, the electronic form of your I-94, or if you have the card format based on where you entered the US, and if you have any previously issued EAD cards, we need a copy of that for this application. So all of this material should be with you today for you to benefit from this presentation. So first, let's review the G1145 form. This is like the easiest form. It's basically for USCIS to send you a text message or email that they have received your application. Okay, so you're gonna just make sure that you put your last name, your first name, a middle name if you have one, an email address that you check on a regular basis, and a phone number that can receive text messages. Now we're going to go through preparing the I-765. Now, we strongly recommend that you follow these instructions carefully. Please type your I-765. Okay, making sure that, I know you might have the best handwriting in the world, but this is not the time for you to be doing that. We're going to type up our I-765. Be aware that depending on the browser that you're using, it might not allow you to type in fields like dashes and slashes, or sometimes it doesn't allow you to type in numbers. Please don't let that prevent you from providing the information that you need in this application. If it's not allowing you to type in, certain fields, use a black ink pen and clearly write in whatever is missing. Okay. Make sure that when you sign your I-765, you sign with a black ink pen. Okay. Make sure, don't type in the signature. You have to sign it with a black ink pen in the box provided. And then you're going to answer all questions fully and accurately. So this is what I'm going to do today. We're going to go through line by line of the I-765 and just please follow through line by line. You know, whatever is incorrect, you cross it out and fix it. And when we're done, then you retype your application with the corrections. You must include all pages of the I-765 with this application, even if you don't use all of them, especially page 7, but it's 7 pages. Every single page must be included with this application. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the form I-765. So you're going to make sure that you check box 1A, which is the initial permission to accept employment. Part 2, information about you. So number 1A, your family name should be in all capital letters. So that's your surname, last name, family name. It's in all caps, just your family name. Your first name, you write that regularly. Middle name, you write that in if you have one. If not, leave it blank. If your name does not fit in the field provided, on page 7 is the part where you put additional information. Okay, so some people have a very long last name like I do, and it might not fit in the box. Page 7 is a page for additional information. That's where you're going to put things that can't fit in the field provided. Now we're on to other names used. If you do not have any other names that you use, you're going to put not applicable in all of these boxes. So from 2A, 2B, 2C, 3A, 3B, 3C, 4A, 4B, 4C, you're going to put N/A in all of those boxes. Okay, N/A means not applicable, and it's in caps. N/A in all these boxes. Continuing with information about yourself. Please note, there is a US mailing address. There is a US physical address. The physical address is where you live, where you brush your teeth. That's where you know, sleep at night. The mailing address might be different from your physical address. You want to make sure that this mailing address is good for the next 3 to 5 months. This address should not change. Please make sure that this address is a good address for the next 3 to 5 months. It does not have to be your physical address. So in the event that you are using someone else's address, where it says in care of, you have to write the name of the person's address that you're using in that box. You're going to write their address, and if it's not yours, you're going to make sure that you have the format of the person's address correct. So you write their address in, okay? And if for some reason, you know, like I said, this address should not change. The mailing address should not change. So be very, very careful when you're filling out this address. You don't want any changes to the mailing address while this application is with USCIS. Okay, so they gave you a mailing address and they gave you a physical address. So if your mailing address is different from your physical address, you're going to check no, and then you put your physical address. But if it is the same as your US mailing address, you check off yes, and then you leave the physical address blank. One more point is that the US mailing address can be anyone's address in the United States. So, you know, if you're currently in New York, but you know, you're gonna move to California and you have a relative there, you can feel free to use their address. It doesn't have to be, you know, In New York, it just has to be a very good address in the US for the next 3 to 5 months with someone who you can trust that will tell you that mail is here for you. I know I spent a long time on that, but I really tried to emphasize this portion because you don't want any changes to the mailing address. Once you've sent that in, you want that mailing address to just remain the same for 3 to 5 months. All right, so now we're moving on to other information. Now, alien registration number. A lot of times students ask, so what is that? If you don't know what it is, you probably don't have one. But basically, you would have an alien registration number if for some reason you had a green card application filed and it was pending, they would give you an A number. So if you do not have an A number, you are going to write NONE, none, all caps for number 8. For number 9, a US online account number, you would not have that as well. So you would put NONE, all caps for number 9. Number 10, check off your gender. Number 11, you check off your marital status. Number 12, it asks if you have previously filed an I-765 in the past with your current CVIS ID or even with a different CVIS ID. You must indicate it here, right? So you would put, check off yes, and then on page 7, you would write that additional information with, providing, the information from the card, your approval dates, etc. So that's why they provide that page for you. Now we're on to this side of our I-765, number 13. Actually, let me go back up. So 12 is if you've previously filed a form I-765, and then now 13A, has Social Security Administration ever issued you an official Social Security card? So if they have, you're going to put yes. For 13B, you're going to write the number in. Then for 14, it says, do you wish for them to issue you a card? You're going to check off no, because you already have a card. Your number doesn't change once you've been issued a Social Security number. That's your number for life. So you wouldn't get another card because you're on OPT. So you're going to say, no, you don't want another card. Okay. And then after that, you would skip down to number 18. So that's for those who have a Social Security number. For those of you who do not have a Social Security number, you're going to check no for 13A. For 13B, you're going to leave that blank. 14, you're going to say yes, you want them to issue you a Social Security card. 15, you're going to authorize consent for disclosure. So you're going to say yes. You're going to put your father's family name, and his first name, then your mother's family name and her first name. And that would be for the Social Security section. Now we're all now down to 18A and B. So it says they want you to list all the countries where you are currently a citizen or national, right? So if you have dual citizenship, you can use A and B. If you only have one, you use 18A and list that country, and then leave B blank. Now we're on to more information about you. So 19, you're going to list your city, town, village of birth. B, your state or province of birth. 19C, country of birth. And 20, your date of birth using 2-digit month, 2-digit day, 4-digit year. Now for this section that we're going to do about the information about your last arrival in the US, you're going to need to take out your I-94, the stamp of your last entry to the US, and your passport, because that's what you need to answer this information. All right, so it's your I-94, your passport, the stamp of your last entry, and you should have copies of these that you can spread them out and look at them at the same time. So make sure it's the last entry. Your I-94 should be the very last time you entered the United States. So you're gonna put that number on 21A. 21B, you're going to look at your most recently issued passport. So the one that's valid, you're gonna put the number at 21B. 21C, you do not have a travel document, so you're gonna put N/A for 21C. 21D, the country where your passport was issued. So you need to look in your passport to see where it was issued, put that country there. Then the expiration date of your passport. So make sure it's when it expires. So very carefully look at that, because sometimes students confuse it with when it was issued. So when is it valid until, right? So the expiration date of the passport, you're gonna put that there for 21C. Then for 22, you're going to look at the stamp of your last entry to the US, put it beside your I-94, make sure that the dates match. Now the dates might be a little bit off if you entered at midnight. So you're gonna make sure that the date that you put on this I-765 is what appears on your I-94. You're going to look in the stamp of your last entry, and there should be a 3-letter code in there. Okay, so look in the stamp of the last entry to the US. You should see 3 letters. That's what you're gonna put in for number 23. So for example, NYC is if you came to JFK, NEW if you came to Newark, if you came through Abu Dhabi, it would be AUH, etc. So just make sure that it's the 3 letters that you put there and not the whole name of the passport. 24, you're going to, whatever your status was the last time you entered. So sometimes, so your immigration status the last time should be F1 student, and your current immigration status should be F1 student. Number 26, so this is your CVIS ID number. And if you look at your I-20, the last I-20 given to you, it starts with N00, and you write, or N0, and you write that number there. 27, the code for post-completion OPT is lowercase c 3 uppercase B. Okay, so make sure you write that like that. Now 28 is not applicable to you at this time. Please make sure that you write N/A for 28A, 28B, and 28C. And then 29 to 31B does not apply to you as an F1 international student, so please leave that blank. Okay, so 29 through 31B, do not write anything there, just leave that section blank. Part 3, so this is the part now where you're gonna say you can read and understand English, and you have answered every question and instruction and answered every question, etc. So you're gonna check off 1A, okay? Then applicant's contact information, make sure that you put your cell number or whatever number it is that you check all the time, and your mobile number, as well as the email address that you check on a regular basis. So that's 3, 4, and 5. You're going to read all of this information here, and then you're going to sign. As you can see, sign in black ink pen. Make sure that your signature stays inside of this box. Don't get all flashy and get it outside. Try to keep it within the box, and then you type in the date. Okay. And then this part is from page 3A onward. You have the interpreter's contact information. You're leaving that blank, but you still have to include this page. And now we're on to page 7. Now, page 7 is a page used for additional information. So some of the things that we spoke about earlier on when we were reviewing the I-765 is if you have, you know, a previous CVIS number or previous authorizations for OPT, etc. So this is a format of how you would write in that information. Okay, so you would write your family name, all caps, your first name regularly, right? You don't have to worry about A, but then you have to make sure. So if you had previous CPT authorization, you're going to put page number 3, part number 2, item number 27. You list your CVIS ID. You list the level of your degree level for the CVIS, for the CPT authorization. You put previous CPT authorization, and then you write down whether it was part-time or full-time, and then you write the duration. So if you have, you know, if you have several of them, you just keep writing every authorization that you have here. If you had previous OPT authorization, again, you would write page number 3, part number 2, item number 27. You would write the CVIS ID, what degree level, the previous authorization, if it was post-completion or pre-completion, you know, you're gonna write full-time or part-time, and then you write the authorization dates. Also, if you had a previous I-20, so we have, you know, page number 3, part number 2, item number 26. So you list the previous CVIS ID, the program dates, and the degree level. Okay, so this information was emailed to you, and it's also available on our website. So you can feel free to go back and look at this page if you need more to look at it, if you can't see my screen very well. All right, so additional supporting documents, and it's loading. Not sure what's happening here. Laura, maybe switch me back over real quick. I don't know if that's why it's not loading. Here we go. All right, so here we go. So the additional documents. So it is all previously issued I-20s. Friends, every I-20 ever issued to you must be included in this application. So if you're not sure, make a virtual appointment and speak with an advisor to make sure that you have what you need in terms of all your I-20s. You might have to contact, you know, previous schools if you transferred, but every I-20 ever issued to you must be included in this application. Copy of your I-94, copy of your passport, the ID pages only, and the expiration pages, not pages with like your address and stuff, just your ID pages that show the expiration page, a copy of your visa stamp, and a copy of your admission stamp. Okay, so the last stamp of entry to the United States. Now, all of these documents should all be on separate sheets of paper, right? Even including the I-94, I'm sorry, the I-765, every document that you're submitting should not be double-sided, and everything should have its own page and no double-sided copies. So let's review your photos. So as this says, issued within the last 30 days. Friends, I know the times are scary to go out there now, but Walgreens, CVS, some passport, some US post offices, you know, call first, obviously, before you go. You need to take a recently issued passport picture. You cannot use one that you used in the past, especially ones that you used for a passport last year or 2 years ago. They want it issued within the last 30 days. All right, so it must look like my little friend in the picture, as you can see. It must be 2 inches by 2 inches, taken within the last 30 days on an off-white or plain white background with your face fully facing the camera. All right. On the back of those photos, you're going to gently, and gently means that you don't press hard and indent the photo. You're going to write on the back of the 2 photos your name, your date of birth, and your I-94 number. Please make sure that you're not using a pen that smudges. You know, use a ballpoint pen or maybe a pencil, but gently write your name on the 2 photos. That's just basically for them to, you know, identify your photos with your documents. So make sure that your name, date of birth, and I-94 are on the back of both photos. Your fees. So we strongly recommend that you try to get a money order. We understand that in these times, it might be easier for you to just use the credit card transaction form that they've created, which is the GI450 form. The thing is, you just have to make sure that you understand that when it's time for them to take their money, the money must be readily available on your credit card account, okay? Or if you're using your own check, your personal check, the money must be readily available when they have to take out their money. So we always recommend a money order, a bank check, or a cashier's check. All right, but using your personal checking account as well as the credit card authorization, the only risk there is that you just have to make sure that when they pull out their money, you have that 410 readily available at that time. Make sure that it's made payable on your check or your money order. Write it straight across in a straight line. U.S. Department of Homeland Security. There is a memo section there. Put your CVIS ID. Make sure that your name is on the check or the money order. Okay, so sometimes if you're using the bank, they'll type in all that information for you. So wherever your name appears, or if there is a memo section, please make sure that your CVIS ID is on the check as well. All right, make sure that it's $410 and it is available. All right. Again, when you use the G1450 credit card authorization, that money has to be in there, or your personal checking account. Some issues that come up sometimes is you know, they close your account because someone else is tampering with your account. So that's why, again, we recommend money order, bank check, or cashier's check. Please do not send in any cash. Do not send paper money. It is not acceptable. The only ways to pay this application fee is through personal check, money order, bank check, cashier check, credit card, the credit card transaction information here, the G1450 form. So make sure that you're including every I-20 ever issued to you, that they're signed and dated. Make sure that your form I-765 is typed and signed in a black ink pen. Do not cross out or white out anything. Remove all staples from your documents. All documents that you send in must be single-sided, okay, not double-sided. So make sure everybody, every document has its own page. Make sure that your copies are legible. If you're looking at them and it's hard to read, then you need to take those photocopies over, okay? When you have made all of your corrections after today's presentation and you print everything out and you have signed your I-765 with a black ink pen, make a copy of the entire application, including the shipping label, for your records before you mail it. That's very important. And please check and double check that you have, you know, went through every line like we did today, and you have signed that I-765 and made a copy of everything before sending it. So now we're on to filing your I-765. So again, which is the documents that we spoke about when we started, it is your responsibility to make sure that you mail the following documents to USCIS, okay? So the 2 passport style photos taken in not more than 30 days, your 410 application fee, the form G1145, the cover letter, the completed form I-765, form I-765 recommending OPT signed by you and your advisor, copies of all form I-20s ever issued to you, and you're going to arrange your I-20s in date order with the newest one being on the top. So newest to oldest. Copies of your passport, copy of your visa, copy of the admission stamp of your most recent entry to the US, copy of your I-94, and copy of any previously issued EAD cards. All documents must be receipted by USCIS within 30 days of the issue date on your I-20. So please take a look at your form I-20 now. I know that I've had students contact me that their I-20 was issued like sometime last in March, and we're now in almost the middle of April. Remember, from that issue date, USCIS must receipt that application, receipt it, okay, within 30 days of us issuing the document. So please look down at your I-20, look at the date. It must get there within 30 days. If you see that you only have a week to get it to them, please contact your immigration advisor and ask them to reissue that I-20 for you. You will get $100 international fee will be charged to your Solar account, and that is for the services that we continue to provide for you while you're on OPT. Because remember, your status did not change. You now have the authorization as an F1 international student to work. So you still have to report to us. We still have to, you know, go into your record and update it, etc. So we continue to provide services for to you while you're on OPT. So filing with USCIS. So you're going to send your documents to USCIS express mail, like it should get there tomorrow. So you're gonna use either FedEx, UPS, DHL, any other shipping services that's out there, and you're gonna send it to the USCIS lockbox. But most importantly, friends, you are sending it to the USCIS lockbox based on the state of your mailing address, okay? Based on the state of your mailing address. So please make sure that you look at the state of your mailing address and select the lockbox based on that state. Very important, all right? Because if you're not using, you know, your regular address, and you might be using somebody in California, you know, and you're still in New York, it's based on the state of the mailing address. So very, 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 very careful. with that. Okay, and then remember that USCIS must receive the document within 30 days of the date that we issued your I-20 recommending OPT. Now we're moving on. So the approval period, okay, so it takes from they receive your application, not when you put it in the mail, but from when they receive it, it can take from between 3 to 5 months, sometimes 6. All right, so just plan for that. And you will get this official receipt notice. This official receipt notice is going to come to your mailing address. Okay, on that receipt notice, you will get a receipt number, and that you can use that case number listed there. Okay, the receipt number will be right in this area here. You're going to use that number to go onto the USCIS website to track the status of your application. So you'll get a receipt notice, and you want to make sure that you report your receipt notice to your immigration advisor by filling out the pre and post completion reporting e-form on AccessVis. So you'll get the receipt, you'll get an approval notice or the EAD card, depending on the lockbox. Sometimes they just give you a receipt notice and your EAD card, and then sometimes they give you a receipt notice, an approval notice, and an EAD card. Okay, so look out for that. And the approval date on your EAD card may be different from what you requested. So please bear that in mind. Okay, keep every single document issued by USCIS. Okay, and so again, remember that not all the centers are going to give you an approval notice. They may just give you the receipt and the EAD card. So you're still required to report to us. Remember, you're still an F1 international student. Your status did not change. You just now have the approval to use your benefit to work based on the dates listed on the card provided by USCIS. You're still required to report. So within 10 days, you report to us a copy of your receipt notice, okay? You give us a copy of your approval notice or your EAD card. Okay, if you change your name, you change your phone number, you change your email address, you get a job, you leave the job, you get another job, you have to report to us within 10 days. So when you're on OPT, you'll be using the pre or post completion reporting e-form on AccessVis to report any changes. And then you would need to select if you would like a new I-20 reflecting updated information. Just bear in mind, you know, the things that appear on the front, you know, so if you change, for example, your mailing address, it won't really appear on the front. So the things that appear on the front, you always want a new I-20 reflecting that information, like your name, your employer information, stuff like that. The SEVP portal. So great news to you. Once you've been approved, you are going to have access now to like look at your CVIS record, which is awesome. So in 2018, the government created an online portal for students on post-completion OPT, and you're able to now, you know, report things like your name, your mailing address, your physical address. You can edit your employer information. All right, so you can go in there and do stuff, but we still recommend that you report to us whatever changes you made. You make sure that you log into AccessVis and use the pre and post completion reporting form, because we do not know when you're in the portal. We have no idea when you're in there and what you did, and sometimes students go in there and click things and they need extra help. So just make sure that once you go into the portal and you make any changes, you just also go into into AccessVis and use the pre and post completing reporting e-form and also report there as well. Okay, so upon applying for post OPT, you will report your personal email. So this is what we do for you. We use your personal email. When you apply for post-completion OPT, we will change your school email to your personal email. And so when you get the approval for the SCVP portal, that information will come to your personal email. Why we make the change for you is because we know that your Stony Brook email is going to expire. So we make that change for you when you apply for post-completion OPT, and you're recommending that benefit for you. And we will send you an email with that information as well to remind you that, okay? So with regards to your address, even now, so the new way to report your address, well, not new, is as of actually March 2019, but I guess some of you might not be aware still because you haven't really changed your address. But if you have a new address, please go into Solar, right? So you log into Solar with your Stony Brook ID and password, go to the security and personal data, then click address and add your new off-campus address. Even if your address is listed as home or mailing, you must still add your local address, okay? So some of you may be at a different address even now. So not just when you're on OPT. So if your address has changed and you have not updated us, please, when you come off of this webinar, please go on to Solar and update your address. That's your responsibility to always make sure that you're updating that within 10 days. So this is a sad slide. So now I'm putting on my sad face. This is failure to complete your academic program. Really, really sad time. So it is important that you speak to your VIS advisor before your program end date if you think that you're not going to graduate, all right? It's very, very, very difficult if you apply for post-completion OPT and you don't graduate. And the sad part is you won't really know, concretely until your grades have come in, which is way after the end of the semester, after the semester has ended. So if you have some kind of feeling right now, please don't go ahead and apply for OPT. Speak to your academic advisor, your professor, and then come and speak to us. Because if it happens that you apply and you've been approved, or you apply and it's pending, it's like several different really sad situations that we have to go through with you immediately. Because if you're approved, you need to withdraw it, and it's very hard after you've been approved for you to withdraw it after. So please, the big thing is that you speak to us right away, speak to your academic advisor. We really can't do anything for you after May 22nd. So it's best that you speak with us so that we can talk about any possible solution. Usually ends up with termination of your F1 status, because basically when you're applying for post-completion OPT, you're saying to immigration that I'm done all of my academic requirements, so shorten me to the end of the semester when I'm going to graduate and allow me to now go ahead and work. So we do all of that function. So something happens after, it's different from what you originally said. All right. So please, if you're having a little iffy, you're feeling a little iffy right now, we do have virtual advising. Please make an appointment with an immigration advisor right away and let us speak to you about options, because they're not very good ones, to tell you the honest truth. Okay. All right. So canceling or withdrawing your OPT. So if you decide not to apply or use your OPT, because it is optional, it's not mandatory, right? So if you decide that at this point, you know what, I don't want OPT anymore, you need to complete the ending my F1 status on Access VIS and contact your VIS advisor immediately. If you fail to notify VIS, your ability to work in the US in the future could be denied. Okay. Now, an RFE, what is that? It's called a request for further evidence. So sometimes you get this document from USCIS. They're asking you for additional information or for you to correct something. So once you get an RFE, these are very time sensitive. So please contact your immigration advisor immediately if you get an RFE from USCIS. Once you get anything back from USCIS, please check to make sure things look correct. So especially your EAD card, look at it. Don't just be like, woohoo, I got my card, yay. Look at it, make sure it's your card and your face on the card, okay? It happens sometimes. Make sure that your name is spelled correctly, that your date of birth is correctly. If they made the error, they will correct it. But if you made the error, you're gonna have to do the whole thing over again. And this is one of the reasons why we say make a copy of the entire application before you send it in so you can see what happened. Okay, so if there is an error on your EAD card, they'll fix it. You know, the processing time for errors, it takes about 45 days. So they will fix it. And it will be up to your employer to allow you to continue to work until the card is corrected. All right, so just check for any spellings or errors on documents coming back from USCIS. Acceptable employment. So you are not eligible to work on or off campus. So as of May 22nd, if that's your graduation date, and that's the date we use to shorten your I-20, you cannot work on or off campus until you get your card and until the date listed on the card. This includes any kind of training, observation, volunteering, internship. You are not allowed to work until you get the card and until the date listed on the card. You must be working for at least 21 hours or more in a job that is directly related to your degree program or your major. Your approval dates may be different from what you requested, right? So you're asking us for specific dates. Remember, it's based on USCIS to give you those dates. So you're gonna check your card, check your card, and make sure that you do not begin to work until the date listed on that EAD card. And then always remember, you are required to report, and this is a requirement as well, where you have to indicate how is the job I'm doing related to my major. So you have to write a paragraph, and then we copy and paste exactly what you say. So make sure that your job is directly related to your major. This information is reported on your CVIS record. So just make sure 21 hours or more directly related to what your major is or your program of study, and you cannot work until you get your card and until the date listed on the card. Unemployment. So once you get the card, the unemployment period would start as of the date listed on the card. Okay, you cannot accrue more than 90 days of unemployment for the duration of OPT. So once you get your EAD card, if you do not have a job, that unemployment clock is going to just keep ticking until the start date, as of the start date listed on your EAD card, and until you have reported your employment. So very important. So we say, please make sure that you're keeping, records. Make sure that each job you hold, it verifies, your dates of employment, your job description, your supervisor. Make sure that you're keeping your pay stubs, your W-2, your tax returns and everything. Because if you accumulate 90 days of unemployment, your CVIS record gets automatically terminated. So please remember, report your employment. Remember, you also have the portal, so you really don't have an excuse. Once you get that job, you can go into the portal yourself and report that job and then report it to us. So make sure you're keeping documentation with you and that you don't go over that 90-day unemployment. So travel and re-entry. So it's a little bit risky to travel while you're on OPT. Okay, so when it's pending or even while you're on OPT, if you must travel, please make sure that you have a valid passport, a valid visa, a valid I-20. The travel signature is only valid for 6 months now when you're on OPT. So you got to wipe out that 1 year validity of your travel signature. It's only valid for 6 months now when you're on OPT. Make sure that you have your EAD card and proof of employment. Okay, so even with having all of those, it is always at the discretion of CBP to allow re-entry in the United States. Also, you know, some of you may have to renew your visa when you're traveling outside. Please remember that you're on an optional benefit, right? When you're on OPT, OPT is optional, it's not mandatory. When you got your visa, you know, it's to come and do your academic program and get that degree. The benefit to work is optional. So it's a little bit risky at that time to apply for a visa for a benefit that's optional. All right. And at the end of the day, you know, we're not telling you not to apply. Yes, apply, but it is always at the discretion of the consulate to give you a visa and then for Customs Border Patrol, CBP, to allow you to re-enter. So, you know, that's a little risky, but we just let you know. All right. It's better when you have, you know, all your documents with you that you travel. We have a little note here that students who have received their EAD cards but have not found employment could encounter difficulties when re-entering the US. So make sure you have all of the above: proof of employment, your EAD card, valid I-20 with a valid travel signature. You know, make sure your I-20 lists your employer information on there, and the travel signature is valid when you're coming back. It needs to be valid, okay? All these things you have to present when you're coming back. And even with having that in here, it says it is at the discretion of the consulate if you're applying for a visa to grant you a visa, and it's always at the discretion of Customs Border Patrol to allow entry. Invalidating your OPT, so these things just cancel or invalidate your OPT, because OPT, again, it's post completion OPT and you're working for a year, right? So if you start a new degree program, you know, once we change your level, it cancels your OPT. If you transfer to another institution, the day that your record is released to that institution, if you're on OPT, it will get canceled on that date. If you end your status or change your status on that particular day, it will cancel your OPT. If you enter the US using another visa other than F1, it cancels your OPT. If you violate your F1 non-immigrant status, you're like, well, how do I do that? Well, not reporting when you're supposed to, not working in a job directly related to your major for 21 hours or more. Basically everything we discussed in this presentation. If you're unemployed for more than 90 days, cancels your OPT. All right. So if any of these, you know, you need to do, you would contact your immigration advisor as to how to proceed. Ending your F1 status. So every time you end something, not when you decide that you're going to stop, it has to come to an end. So an end means on your EAD card, at the end, it has an end date. There's a 60-day grace period that you get at the end. You get grace at the end. So you have that 60-day grace period, the last day printed on your EAD card, you have 60-day grace. You can either depart the US or transfer to another institution or change your immigration status. So that's your grace period, okay? If you depart the US or if you change your status, you have to submit the ending my F1 status on Access This. And then if you intend to transfer to another university, you would fill out the transfer out e-form on Access This. All right. Once your CVIS record has been released to the new school, it cancels your OPT, as I explained in the other slide. So be very careful if you want to wait until the end and do everything in your 60-day grace period and benefit from the 12 months of OPT. You can wait, finish your OPT, and then either transfer out or change your level. But if you do it while you're on the OPT authorization, whatever day you tell us to transfer your record, that's it. You're no longer authorized to work under OPT, even though your EAD card says so. Your I-20 changed that. Okay, so just remember. So just a little reminder, this is kind of just summarizing everything that I said, and I said a whole lot. Phew. So key pointers. So your I-765 must be receipted within 30 days of us issuing that I-20. Okay, you cannot, and no more than 60 days following your program end date. So you must make sure that this gets in a timely manner. Travel outside the US while you're on your I-765. While it is pending with USCIS, it's risky and it could jeopardize the approval of your application. You're required to report your receipt and adjudication. So adjudication is just a fancy word for approval or denial, right? So you're supposed to report. While you're on OPT, you use the pre and post completion reporting e-form to report on Access This, and you're gonna upload copies of your receipt notice, your approval notice, your EAD card, you know, your employer information, all of those things you report on Access This using the pre and post completion reporting e-form. You cannot work until you get your card and until the date that is listed on the card, and you can only work within the dates listed on the card. Remember that, not anytime after. You cannot accrue more than 90 days of unemployment while you're on OPT. Your employment must be directly related to your field of study and your degree level. And remember, there is a $100 fee that will be charged to your solar account. Okay, so make sure that you pay that up. The timely payment could result in the bursar reporting your information to collections. So you're like, oh yes, another $100. So just remember that we continue to provide services to you while you're on OPT. So here is a list of the your immigration advisors. So you can contact them directly if you have any questions. And this comes to the end of the presentation. So do we have any questions out there?
Great, so we're going to open the question and answer portion of our session. So please feel free to chat in any questions using the Q&A function. Our team will remain on the line here just for the next couple of minutes. Everyone, please give Trisha a big virtual round of applause.
Thank you, friends. And please try to keep your questions pertaining to post-completion OPT questions. And if you have any other specific questions, you can feel free to email your immigration advisor. Okay, so.
Okay, we do have one question that came in. Where can we have photos printed?
You can go to Walgreens, Walmart, CVS. You just have to contact them to see what the procedure is at this time. You can go on Google and look up who is doing passport pictures. It's not information we have readily available. You just have to kind of see where the locations are and what their procedure is at this time, and then try to take them.
Okay, I have a student asking, should I apply for pre or post completion OPT?
That question is a little bit vague. The student, you need to give us a little bit more information. If you're graduating, you would apply for post. If you still have academic requirements left to complete, you would apply for pre, but it's more in depth than me just answering you generally like that. So I would say if you could contact your immigration advisor, or we do have virtual advising. You could definitely schedule an appointment. We're on for advising today and tomorrow, so that we can there's more to your question than just answering should you. There's more that we need to ask you to answer that fully.
Okay, so we'll make one last final call for questions. Okay, it looks like there aren't any other questions. So thank you everyone very much for being here with us today. Thank you, Tricia, again for presenting the session. You can feel free to contact your international student advisor or make an advising appointment if you have any questions. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Great day.